Hello, AS Psychology. So this is a video for you if you're a little bit unsure of the homework. I know I kind of was not was a little bit vague about the information and what you needed to do, and also the information and where you could access it. So the majority of it is in the book, and really essentially all you need to do, I would like you to do, is some pre-reading and making some brief notes about the AO1. So just the description for the two-process model, which is the explanation of phobias, and then systematic desensitization and flooding, which are the treatments. So you only need to know the AO1 for your homework. It's just going to make the lesson much quicker. We can do more active stuff rather than you just sitting there taking notes, which can be extremely boring for all involved. So your homework, to make notes on the following. So the two-process model, you already know. The reason I've set this as homework is because I'm confident you can do it. You already know about classical conditioning and you already know about operant conditioning. So, and we'll talk a tiny bit more about that in the video, but it just explains it all in your cat book. I will also send you around some scanned in photos of the green-haired girl book, if I can remember, because there's some extra information in there. I want you to have a read of classical and operant conditioning, and then I want you to pick two of the following phobias: snakes, heights, claustrophobia, ghosts, or one of your choice. So not from the book or the video, so don't just steal the one I'm going to use, or one from the book, because I will know. It could be absolutely any four of those. You can choose two of your own choice. You could do one from the list, one of your own choice, or two from the list. I really don't mind. The key thing is that you have done some of those. And we'll have a quick recap of those at the start of the lesson before I ask you to apply them to some new ones. So the more you use it, so already by doing it this way, you've made some notes this time, which is the first time you've seen it rather than being in class. The second time we do it tomorrow will be the first type of revision, and then the first time you revise it, which would be the first time since you made notes in class, it will be the third time you've looked at it. So already it's increasing the amount of revision that you can do. Which is really beneficial. And then watch the following YouTube clips, which I have checked and they do work. So if they're not working for you, maybe have a go somewhere else. I have emailed them to you so you can check the whole hyperlink, because it is difficult to type them all in, and I will try and remember to put them in the comments section at the bottom of the video. If you've got any questions about it, please put it in the comments section or email me, whichever you would prefer. But please make sure you make some notes. So I need to know about the step-by-step process of systematic desensitization and the step-by-step process of flooding. So I want you to be able to tell me about both. Not just copy them down, but explain the process a little bit, and the videos really help with that. Okay? So, two-process model. This is the reason that we develop phobias. Why do we develop phobias? Well, according to the behaviourist approach, it's because of the two-process model. So it's all about learning. We learn our behaviours and we learn to develop phobias. And it's called the two-process model because there's two processes or two steps. Initiation, so where you develop the phobia, and maintenance, so when you continue and maintain the phobia. Classical conditioning, which is learning through association, explains the initiation, so the first development, and maintenance, so operant conditioning, which is learning through consequences, allows us to continue that behaviour or ensures that we do. So, for example, here for classical conditioning for the initiation, you've got the neutral stimulus is clowns. So initially when children are born, as people go through lives, automatically they don't have any response to any kind of phobia, show any kind of fear or any kind of emotion to clowns. They have to learn one, okay? And then, of course, you have the unconditioned stimulus, which is the natural, the unlearned thing which causes a natural and unlearned response. And I don't know how true it is, but apparently the two types of fears that children are born with are the feeling of falling and what was the other one? Loud noises. I'm going to look at little Albert in a bit with loud noises, so if you want to have a quick read of him to be prepared for class, then you can do. So the unconditioned stimulus, a stimulus that naturally causes a response. We've not learnt it, we're born with it, it's just something that naturally happens. And then the unconditioned response, which is fear. So the child has no response to clowns, but has, with the feeling of falling, has an automatic response, a feeling of fear. The neutral stimulus and the unconditioned stimulus are paired together. So a man dressed as a clown throwing a child in the air. And just in case you're not sure what that looks like, there is a nice image in the top right hand corner of a child being lifted into the air. So that is where we associate the neutral stimulus with the unconditioned stimulus, and we develop the conditioned or the learnt stimulus of a clown and the learnt response. So I should say C, not U on the R. Let me just change that for you. Okay, as if by magic. So the conditioned response of fear. So have a look at that one. You can pick, remember, any of those at all. So whatever phobia you pick, ghosts, claustrophobia, heights, whatever it is, think about an event that might have triggered that phobia. Okay. And then we have maintenance, so that's operant conditioning, and operant conditioning, which was extremely important because we're going to talk about negative reinforcement. If you have a look at the bottom bullet point, do not trust the book, do not trust the kind of everyday term positive and negative, meaning good and bad. This is not the case. Think about it like maths. Positive is adding something, negative is removing something or avoiding something. Please don't trust the book, please don't trust kind of logical assumption. This isn't logical, okay? Negative reinforcement. So negative, removing something, and reinforcement, increasing a behaviour. So the example we've got here is the child feels very stressed, so avoids the clown and instantly calms down. So we have the removal of anxiety and distress of the fear stimulus itself, which is the most important thing. So avoidance removes the fear stimulus, and then which increases the behaviour. So they go away and they're more likely to continue to avoid clowns, to continue to avoid circuses, to continue to avoid any place that a clown might be. Feel free to make your own suggestions about what that might be. Certain films, I don't know. Okay, so remember, negative reinforcement, really important. Removing a stimulus to increase a behaviour. So the child removes the fear stimulus, the clown, whatever it is, and then that reinforces the behaviour of avoiding the fear stimulus. So the stimulus is removed, and it increases that behaviour, avoidance behaviour, and that allows us to maintain a phobia. So classical conditioning causes a phobia essentially, and operant conditioning allows us to maintain that phobia. And you do need to know about both, so please be confident. So return back and pick snakes, heights, claustrophobia, ghosts, or one or even two of your own choice. So how could it be developed through classical conditioning? How is it maintained through operant conditioning? And then you don't need to know this for homework, but if you just want to have a quick think about these, you can do, because we will be discussing them in class closer to the time. So problems with classical conditioning. It can't explain why people develop phobias without any contact with their fear stimulus. So a lot of people have developed phobias of spiders. However, they've never been bitten by a spider or experienced anything negative around a spider at all. People are scared of snakes. We don't very often see snakes, whatever it may be. So some people develop phobias without any contact to their fear stimulus. And what does that tell us about the theory? Well, if it can't explain all behaviours, then it's not particularly it lacks validity. You wouldn't say it wasn't valid at all, but it lacks validity. And then, of course, we can't explain why all neutral stimulus is paired with an unconditioned stimulus don't cause behaviours or phobias. So basically what that means is that we experience traumatic events, and sometimes we don't develop, and a lot of the time we don't develop phobias from them. So how many times have you cut yourself on a piece of paper and developed a phobia? Have any of you developed a phobia of papers or books yet? As hard-working A-level students, I know that is not the case. You all love books and paper. Things like that. Another one might be touching when receiving static shock off lifts, escalators. Well, I know that you're probably a bit careful when you put your hand on, but have you developed a true phobia of it? No. So it can't explain why a lot of neutral stimuluses, when paired with an unconditioned stimulus that receives an unconditioned response, don't cause develop phobias. Real world applications, you can know all about systematic desensitization in a minute, of course. So you talk, say, strength is real world applications, for example, systematic desensitization, and then tell me all about systematic desensitization. Just naming it is not enough, and then telling me why that's a strength. Well, that's a good thing, because it's just the theory is high in validity, because it can be applied to the real world and effectively reduces phobias. So that's a really important bit. It effectively reduces phobias, so the theory must be explaining what it claims to explain. And then, of course, it ignores cognitive processes as well. So you all know that there are some cognitive characteristics to phobias, which obviously learning things, so just learning things through the environment, through what we call stimulus and response. So experiencing stimulus and just learning to respond to it can't explain cognitive processes, so internal mental thought processes, which are definitely there when it comes to phobias as well. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. So just to recap, useful things to know, but not necessarily something you need to make notes on or know for the homework, because we will go through it in class as well. So don't panic if you don't understand, but obviously for you stronger students, you can start thinking in a bit more detail. So I want to see some really detailed, strong evaluation points, and maybe even a however sentence on your evaluation point. So this is a strength because, and a strength is, for example, this is a strength because, however, and then tell me some problems with it. And then we have the treatments of phobia. So I will put as I said, I'll try and remember and put the link in the YouTube, the comments below. Systematic desensitization then. So this is the idea that we are, and if you have a look here, counter conditioning. So patients are learning to associate their phobias with relaxation rather than anxiety. So currently they're conditioned to see a stimulus and respond with anxiety. We're going to counter condition it. So we're going to learn them to respond, teach them to respond, or they are going to learn to respond with a feeling of relaxation. Systematic desensitization. You create a fear hierarchy, and I want to have a quick look at what one of those are. We are going to create one in class, so you can be thinking about that. So from least terrifying to most terrifying things. So it could be looking at saying the word spider out loud, looking at a drawing of a spider, looking at a realistic photo, to eventually holding a spider close to your body. Then your taught relaxation techniques. Again, there's loads in the book, and there's lots in your paper booklet as well. So that's really key. Fear hierarchy, taught relaxation, and then very, very gradually over a long period of time. So one of the videos doesn't make it look like that, but it is generally over a long period of time. They're gradually introduced to their fear stimulus. So moved up the hierarchy until, and then every time they move up the fear hierarchy before they can, and this is extremely, extremely important, they are asked to rate their fear every time. So immediately, as you saw on the feather one, your anxiety might go up to 100, but then eventually you'll find through the idea of reciprocal inhibition, so the fact that you can't experience two emotions simultaneously, eventually you'll relax, and the fear stimulus will go from 100 to, I don't know, 10 or whatever. And then you can move on once you are relaxed. So that bit's really, really key and really important. Flooding, same sort of idea, but there's not quite so gradual. So you taught relaxation techniques, and then boom, you introduce that spider, you introduce that clown, whatever it may be, and you'll see that on the video as well. And that's it. And then again, the basic idea comes in: counter conditioning and reciprocal inhibition. So the idea you can't experience two emotions simultaneously. So eventually you'll relax. So thrown into this horrible situation, and because nothing bad happens in your anxiety, but your anxiety can't be maintained, eventually you relax. Again, all of that's in your cat book, and it's in the Green Haired Girl, which I'll try and send along as well. So if you're not sure after you've watched the video, go back and do some reading, make some more notes, look on the internet. Tutor to You is an excellent website that I can highly recommend as well. And then, of course, evaluations. You don't need to know these for homework, but you can have a think about them. There's some supporting evidence which is mentioned in the book, which you can have a look at. The idea that systematic desensitization and flooding are extremely effective. However, they're only effective in some phobias, and there are definitely phobias that are more linked to cognitive processes, so suggesting that they're not completely effective, reducing their validity. And of course, they can be self-administered, and they're found to be equally as effective doing that. So we save the NHS lots of money. So you can have a think about those, but remember, you don't have to know them for homework. And that, I think, is that. So good luck with your homework. If there's anything you're not sure of, remember you can put a comment in the comment section, or you can email me, but please do this before the start of session. I can't help anybody if they go, right, I don't understand, in the middle of session when I'm starting to do something with other people. So please let me know in advance. I can arrange to talk to you about it and explain anything, but please do not come without preparing your homework. Good luck, and I shall see you either tomorrow or Friday.